Hi, I'm James Kimber. I'm a physician assistant and founder of PA Mentor Online, bringing you the best tips and tools you'll need to get into a PA program. On this channel, we do strategy videos for pre-PA students who are currently in the application process, as well as students who are successful at getting into a PA program that we worked with, either maybe a mock interview or personal statement. And as in today's situation, we also interview practicing PAs who some of them are working with our group, and they'll tell their story. If you're new to this channel, don't forget to subscribe, as you don't want to miss out on the latest information. And if at any time you have any comments, suggestions, maybe about a PA program that you want to learn more about, advice on your personal statement or mock interview, just leave us a comment below and we'll get back to you as soon as possible.
Welcome to Physician Assistant Mentor Online.
Welcome back. I've got my new shirt. As you could probably tell, we're interviewing somebody from the Drexel University PA program. Kristen is going to start working with us. She's already helped a couple of students, but I'm going to go ahead and let her talk about her experience currently practicing as a PA. Okay, so I want to thank you for doing this with us, Kristen. Appreciate your time. Tell us about when you first decided to go into medicine. Where'd that interest come from?
I've always been interested in medicine ever since I was a kid. When I was little, I always said I wanted to be a pediatrician. Oddly enough, I ended up in pediatrics. I went to undergrad for biomedical engineering because I was interested in the math and as well as the science. And I knew I wanted to do medicine, just not particularly sure what. I didn't know if I wanted to do MD, DO, PA, or PhD. I had no idea until after college.
Okay. And where did you do your undergrad?
Sorry.
It's okay. We can edit. Remember, I can edit.
Okay. I did my undergrad at Drexel.
Okay. So how did you learn about the PA field? You said you were considering other options in medicine. How did you learn about physician assistant?
So honestly, in college, I didn't know what a physician assistant was. There were no physician assistants at my doctor's office at the time. After college, I got an awesome job opportunity to be the clinical research coordinator for a neurosurgical department. And then in my free time there, whenever I finished my work, I was able to shadow. So I was able to shadow the surgeons, I was able to shadow on the floors, the nurses, the radiologists, and they had an awesome team of PAs. And once I saw what they did, what their role was, I decided that that's kind of where I wanted to go with things.
Okay. Now, you said you attended Drexel for undergrad. Did the college prepare you well enough? I mean, were you able to get all your prerequisites done at Drexel?
I was able to get most of my prereqs done. I did biomedical engineering for my undergrad, and it was actually a pre-med track. So a lot of people went to medical school. That being said, even though you had all the medical school requirements, I didn't have all of the requirements for PA.
So you were talking about you were not able to get all the courses done at Drexel. How did you obtain those?
Okay, so I wasn't able to get them all done at Drexel. I did have to do microbiology course, which I did an online course for that, and I did have to do an organic chemistry 2 class and lab. So that was in person at Drexel.
Okay. Out of the courses that you took, which would you say were the most difficult, that you had the hardest time with?
Organic chem was definitely the hardest for me.
That's pretty common. We hear that a lot. What about the GRE? Did you take that?
I did not take the GREs.
Okay. Wasn't required, obviously, by the school that you attended?
Correct. It's severely limited where I applied, so I could only apply. I wanted to stay local. I wanted to do a part-time program, so I only applied for 3 programs. Looking back, if I had to do it again, I would have definitely taken the GRE.
Okay. What do you think were your strengths applying to the PA programs?
I think my strength was my clinical research experience, my background with biomedical engineering. At Drexel, we did co-ops as well, so I left undergrad with 1.5 years of experience. So that was definitely a benefit going into PA school, that I had work experience after college as well as work experience in college. And I think my leadership skills, I was involved in student government in undergrad, which I was also involved in student government in PA school. It progressed too. But I think the leadership skills, lots of community service from high school on, so just kind of the well-roundedness.
It's interesting. We were hearing from PA that works with another PA program. Then they were saying that they do actually focus on leadership as part of the application. or they look
Right.
at those. So what about your healthcare experience? What were you doing? I mean, I know you said you worked in a neuro clinic. Was that where you got all your healthcare, or were there other jobs that you held?
That's where I got the majority of my experience at doing NIH stroke scales and things like that on patients. But I did have an awesome program that I did at University of Penn. They have a pre-med program where you're actually in the ER. Part of it is kind of you serving the patient, and the other part is you're in the trauma bay with the docs, which is a great experience for an undergrad pre-med, pre-PA student to do. And then I did some hours at CHOP. That was kind of not as hands-on, just making sure the kids had what they need, making sure they were comfortable playing games with them, not as medical. I'm not sure that I actually wrote that down for my skills, but definitely still something in my experience.
Okay. And how many cycles did you take to apply?
Just one.
Okay, great. How many programs did you apply to?
I applied to 3 programs.
And did you interview at them all, or?
I got 2 interviews.
Okay, and accepted at both, or waitlisted, or what?
Waitlisted at the first one. A couple of days later, I had my interview at Drexel, which was my number 1 choice. Found out I got in there and then got off the wait list because I accepted the seat at Drexel.
So tell us about that. Why was Drexel your number 1 choice?
I had went there for undergrad, and I just felt like the program was such a fit. When I went there for my interview versus when I went for my interview for the school that I was waitlisted, I just felt more like I belonged there. It felt like their goals more properly aligned with what my goals were, and I just felt very comfortable there. I just didn't have that feeling at the other school. They kind of had a different mentality. Personalities didn't really fit, and I think it's important not only is the school interviewing you, but you're also interviewing the school.
Right, yeah. Okay. Now tell us about your CASPA experience, because a lot of different views about when they should start, or how soon is too soon, or do you need to do it right when it opens?
I would say the sooner the better, because it's a very long process. I do not remember it being fun. I do not remember any part of the CASPA process being fun. I remember it being very tedious. That being said, I did choose pretty late on to apply. Luckily, I had my clinical hours. I had everything I needed. I wasn't going to have time to take the GREs. So I probably about halfway through the application process applied for CASPA.
Okay. Looking back, were there any mistakes that you made, or something you would do differently if you were going through the process all over again?
I would take the GRE if I had to do it again. I mean, I really lucked out and applied to 3 schools, got 2 interviews, got in on my first round, but I definitely severely limited myself.
Okay.
So I'd start early and take the GRE.
How did you find PAs for shadowing? Because this is always a problem for students.
Yeah, so I was really fortunate and lucked out and had a group of, it was like 10 to 12 PAs on the floor where I was working, and was able to shadow them on a daily basis.
Yeah, we're always trying to get students to at least pick up a volunteer position at a hospital, because invariably you're going to run into them.
Right.
So you got accepted into Drexel. Tell us what it was like your first year.
So my first year wasn't a typical first year because I did a part-time program. So my first year was 3/4 of a year. We had the summer off, and it was more of my ethics course than basic course. It wasn't your core anatomy, clinical skills. So my first year wasn't horrible, but second year was definitely pretty bad for me because that was all my core courses. So what your typical student's going to have in their full-time first year.
Okay.
And when they say that you're getting information from the fire hose, they're not lying.
Right. So how did you feel like first time seeing a patient where you were the one interviewing the patient?
I always felt comfortable with my patient interviews. It was more, I guess the hardest challenge for me was when it came to the clinical skills, touching the patient. The interviews were always the easy part, but it was the first time, because you're like, the patients have been through this so many times. U.S. patients have been through this, but am I doing this right? Am I placing it right? I think that was the harder experience for me.
Okay. And what about your fellow classmates? I mean, did you make friends through PA school, or did you guys form up study groups?
Yeah, I would not have gotten through PA school without study groups. We had a lot of late nights in the library, and we started making friends. We had a Facebook group before school even started, and had some social outings before the program started.
Once you finished school and you graduated, how long before you took your pants?
I graduated in December, took my pants in January, started working in February.
Great. So what was your first job out of PA school?
Emergency medicine in a level 1 trauma center.
Wow. And how did you like that?
At the time, I thought that I absolutely loved it. Looking back, it was really stressful. I was bringing a lot home with me. And now I'm working in outpatient pediatrics, and it's a much better lifestyle. I think emergency medicine was a great start. I learned so much and saw so much while I was there, and did love my experience.
So this is what pretty much everybody wants to know, or what tips do you have for those who are currently going through the application process or going to start applying next cycle?
Definitely do some soul searching and figure out why you want to do this. One of the things that I hear a lot is, I want to be a PA because I want to work in a team, and PAs do a lot of teamwork. Everybody on the team does teamwork. The MD, the DO, the NP, the PA, the nurse, you're all a team. That doesn't set you apart. That's not why you want to become a PA. So I think you really need to know individually why you yourself want to become a PA, not some answer that you think the school wants to hear as to why you want to become a PA. Your grades are going to sell themselves. You have the grades to get in front of them in the interview process. When it's time for your interview, sell yourself and what makes you unique.
There are always kind of these misconceptions that we find when we're interviewing students. A lot of times we read in their statements about how, PA spends more time with the patient than the doctor does, or the PA, the doctors are overwhelmed with paperwork and not the PA. What would you say about that?
I would say that it's very nice on paper, but I don't think it's very realistic, at least in the specialties I've worked in emergency medicine and outpatient pediatrics. That's not the case. In the ER, the attendings would take most of the traumas, so they would have a harder caseload per se with that. That doesn't mean that we don't have more patients and a couple sprains over here, a couple sutures over here, and a lot more going on at the same time. In the outpatient world, the doctors get 20 minutes for well visits. I get 20 minutes for well visits. We both get 15 minutes for sick visits. So it would definitely be nice to say that PAs have more time with their patients. Maybe we're better communicators, and we have more training in that. I don't know, and that's why it comes across as PAs have more time. But when it comes down to the numbers, at least from my experience, it's been kind of equal. And as far as paperwork goes, it's equal, if not more, because a lot of times the attending will be like, oh, you have a free minute. Go take care of this on your lunch period. So I would say we're doing equal, if not more, of the paperwork. So I do think that's a misconception. If that's why you're going to become a PA, that's not the reason.
Right. Now, how about the other thing we always hear from the students is, I want to become a PA because it's a great work-life balance.
I think it's very specialty related. When I was in emergency medicine, that was not the best work-life balance. You were doing bounce backs. You were working multiple overnights. I actually left emergency medicine when I had my daughter because of the work-life balance. Outpatient world, you're going to have a better work-life balance. Again, I feel like that could be the same that you could say for an MD, DO, NP. I think it's more specialty related as the work-life balance.
Exactly. Yeah, I agree. So let's back to Drexel. I mean, would you consider that? Would you recommend that school to other applicants?
Absolutely. There were plenty of times when I was going through the program itself and I was like, I don't know why they're doing this. What are they making us do this for? This makes no sense. And then as soon as I graduated and I saw how well prepared I was, as compared to some of my peers who were graduating at a similar time, I was so thankful that the program put us through what they did. Even working after that and having students from different colleges, from different universities and different PA programs, seeing how they were prepared versus what Drexel put us through and how we were expected to act on rotations, some of the behaviors that we saw, even if it's something as basic as how they came dressed. Drexel had a very strict rule, no leggings on rotations. I thought that was an awesome rule. It's not business casual. If you're not wearing scrubs, you're expected. So many kids on rotation show up in sneakers and leggings for outpatient. Yes. When the patients come dressed better than you have an issue. So I think just the whole well-rounded, everything from professionalism to communication to obviously academics was great.
Right. Okay. Okay. Well, I want to thank you again for doing this interview. I mean, your insights are really helpful. As I've said before, there's a lot of information that you put out that students always have questions about. So thanks for doing this with us, and appreciate your time.
Okay, thank you so much.